Welcome everyone to this very special webinar. I'm Anna Tavis, Chair of the Human Capital Management Department at NYU. And I am very, very honored today to welcome two special people for our webinar, Dr. Jonathan Kirschner and Dr. Nicky Terblanche, for the conversation about AI in leadership. We titled it, How AI is Empowering a New Era of Human Leadership. The conversation cannot be more urgent today as the news and the headlines every day talk about how AI is replacing jobs, replacing humans, and lots of confusion and chaos around where we're heading with this new technology. And I am delighted to have these two experts who are spearheading the transformation and thought leadership in the space of AI, coaching, consulting, and the future of human jobs. So I will give Jonathan and Nicky an opportunity to introduce themselves, but just a couple of logistical issues in the chat room. Please let us know where you're calling from. It's always good to create some semblance of connection in these technology-enabled conversations. And then for the questions to the panelists that you want to be answered at the end of our session, please use the Q&A tab on the lower bar of your screen. And we will definitely get to the questions at the end of this conversation. So without further ado, Jonathan, I want to give you the lead, and then Nicky, you will share with us what you're working on today.
Well, Anna, thank you so much for having both Nicky and myself for this riveting conversation. I know it's going to be riveting. It's extremely timely, as you noted, and I'll just introduce myself. I'm the founder CEO of AIIR Consulting. So we're a global leadership consultancy based in Philadelphia, but operating globally. And I'm here today, actually in Charlotte, of all places, Charlotte, North Carolina, giving a keynote a little bit later on today at a conference in this area. And our mission at AIIR is to help leaders navigate change and shape a better future. We do it through a number of different products and services, ranging from executive coaching, team effectiveness, leadership development, executive assessment, and then we have some assessment tools and other products that empower leadership. And we find ourselves, this is about almost 16 years into this, founded AIIR when I was pursuing my doctorate in clinical and organizational psychology, got extremely passionate about leadership. And, for the last, 15 years, 14 years, it's been kind of like, well, there's, you had this thing called COVID that created a bit of a disruption. But for the most part, the playbook has been somewhat linear. And now we find ourselves at this time of AI, where it's like, what is this thing? And is this a threat? Is this an opportunity? Is it both? And so that's the mind space that we're in right now, that we've been in, I think, for the last year and a half, 2 years at AIIR, and really trying to be very thoughtful, but also action-oriented in relation to this point in time that we're in. So maybe that's a good segue into how I met Nicky.
Yes,
Yeah.
and tell us how you met Nicky, because I think that is also a really important.
Well, I met Nicky, virtually. Nicky's, of course, across the world from me most times, or I'm across the world from you. And we met at the Columbia Coaching Conference. Was it 2018? Might have been
later. Could have been COVID even. I can't. Yeah, it feels like ages
ago.
It
might have been in COVID. Yeah, it was definitely in that window where time becomes distorted. But it was at least 5 years ago. and Nicky was presenting on his seminal research on AI coach bots. And I thought, you know what? Like, this is, Anna, this is before AI was like a thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
but this could be kind of cool. This would be interesting to attend. And the presentation just blew me away, to see that a digital bot, independent of any human engagement, could produce change, could produce behavior change, was pretty astounding. And especially when you looked at the control group and the human coaching group. And so that research was so compelling that I immediately reached out after the meeting and said, Nicky, we got to get on a call to figure out how we can bring this and incorporate it into our practice at AIIR. Again, this is before generative AI. So AI was, a thing, but it was retrieval-based AI and sort of old school-based AI, not generative AI. But that's how we met, and we hit it off immediately.
Yeah. And Nicky, over to you now. And there are some questions already about where are you based now that Jonathan kind of intrigued everyone to say. So tell us a little bit where you live, and you travel all over the world, and then we'll dive right into what you're working on.
Yeah, thank you so much, Anna and Jonathan. Great to share the stage with you. I live in a city that all of you have to come and visit, Cape Town, South Africa. I know Jonathan's been there, and I know
I've
you've
been there.
also traveled there as well. It's a fantastic place to visit. So, Cape Town, South Africa. I'm currently a full-time academic at the Stellenbosch University Business School in Cape Town area. And I'm the head of the Masters in Leadership Coaching program. So we actually teach humans how to become coaches, to coach other humans. But my background is, very briefly, I'm actually an electronic and software engineer, and I studied AI back in the late 90s when people didn't even call it AI. Then I spent a lot of time as a software engineer and eventually fell in love with coaching and leadership development. And at the moment, I'm merging the two worlds by doing all sorts of very interesting experiments, by creating different kind of coaching chatbots to see what works, what doesn't work. And as Jonathan says, that's how our paths crossed. And at the moment, I'm also very honored to be a scholar in residence for AIIR Consulting, and helping them to build their next generation coaching chatbot, and also to see how AI can be used in their leadership development program.
And that's a virtual residence, right? Occasional come together in person, but it's interesting how the concept evolved. So, gentlemen, why focus on leadership and AI? Do you agree, as some of us argue, that AI represents a foundational shift in how organizations and people function, and therefore that requires the next step in the evolution of leadership? Give us the big picture first.
So I can kick us off, and I think that it comes down to how you view AI first and foremost. So is AI like another technology innovation, like the cell phone? Or is it something that, what some would call like a foundation technology, something that is so powerful that it might change like every paradigm that we know, both at work and outside of work. And I think if you relate to it as just another cool toy that might give you some productivity lift, that's going to obviously limit your upside in terms of utilization of AI, and probably severely constrain both your understanding and growth as the world evolves. At AIR and me personally, we're in the latter camp, viewing this as something that really is going to touch. It has already, but will, I think we're probably only in the first or second inning of it. Going to touch every facet of life, both organizationally and outside of work. And I think, its relevance to leadership is, it's certainly going to be from the vantage point of product innovation, competitive advantage, and success or demise. But I think even beyond that, beyond the sort of organizational leadership imperative, there's probably also like a moral imperative, because as this thing becomes bigger and more powerful, again, I think we're only in the second inning here. Only agents are only starting to kind of get matured, and we haven't, I don't have my robot here with me today, but 2 years from now there'll probably be a couple robots in the room I'm in right now, and so I think we're just in the second inning, and as AI becomes more and more powerful, just like many big foundational things, it can be used for good or it can be used for bad, for evil. And so I think AI is going to ultimately become the next playing field or theater for the battle between good and evil. And so we have sort of a moral imperative, I think, not just as humans and individuals, but especially as leaders to become adept and lead with AI rather than be led by it. So that's my perspective.
And Nicky?
Yeah, look, I think to put it in perspective, one should probably look at previous disruptions as well. If technology disruptions. So if you look at the industrial era, which is way back, and even more recent, the internet era and smartphones. So one might ask, what is different to this kind of disruption? And I think what is different is that it really is, for the first time, actually, what some people call cognitive automation. So it's not just conducting and conveying information we create, like the internet, in a different way. It's actually generating, it's mimicking human cognition. We've never seen that before. And I think that's why people are so drawn to it. So because of this, I think the impact is going to be much broader and at a much higher skill level than what we are used to. White collar workers, as the people are referred to, lawyers, engineers, people that previously were not necessarily affected in terms of their job security by technology disruption, are now disrupted by this technology. I think that is significant. The other thing I think is the speed of adoption. We've never seen anything like this. The internet, I was a student at the time when the internet and email came out. It took a long time for organizations to really adopt and integrate the internet, even emails. You might all know, or many of you might know, that ChatGPT was the fastest uptake of any technology at the time. It took only 2 months for it to reach 100 million people. So because of this, I think there are ethical and cultural implications which we haven't even began to realize what the significance of this is. And therefore, obviously, leadership is affected. Leadership in organizations, but also leadership in other spheres. So the nature and the magnitude and the speed of this technology disruption is something we've never seen before.
Yeah, and I, just to support what you're saying, this morning I was listening to Yuval Harari, who's the cultural historian. He actually traces technology innovation in that sense all the way to, the invention of the wheel or the invention of writing. And even, his historical, framework or horizon is much broader than ours. We usually, in all the commentary, we don't go beyond the Industrial Revolution, right? Or sometimes internet. But he's looking through the span of like 2,000 years of evolution. And even he's confirming what you just said, Jonathan, that this is an unprecedented and foundational step change that has not happened before for the cognitive human engagement. We've seen it on, the invention of the wheel, et cetera, et cetera. And then obviously he wraps it up in all sorts of issues, as Nicky, you pointed out. We don't know the consequences. Even, to refer to the publication of The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Haidt, my colleague at NYU, we're just beginning to see the consequences of social media. And it took us, you know, a couple of decades to just get through this. And so the implications of this particular one are going to be even bigger. So in your view, because you're working with the current leaders, Nicky, you're educating the current leaders through your MBA program, and Johnson, you're consulting and helping companies. How many current leaders are ready for this AI change? How would you, is there an assessment that, Jonathan, you come up with, or Nicky, you recommend scientifically, you know, valid, that will, you know, that will judge, that will assess AI readiness?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, at AIIR, we identified 7 skills. Nicky, we're obviously part of this study, using an approach called the leadership genome, where we survey subject matter experts, and the question that we're seeking to answer using our 45 skill leadership taxonomy at AIR. And so our question was like, what are the skills leaders need to be successful in this sort of age of AI and this AI revolution? And we identified 7 specific skills. And so we're able to actually, we have a mini assessment tool to get at those areas, and maybe we'll have a chance to talk about some of those skills in particular over the course of this conversation. But even that assessment, you know, I think readiness is not just skills, it's also mindset. And I think that, you know, when I look at sort of the AIR ecosystem and our clients, we do see some leaders, you know, really engaged and advanced in how they're bringing AI into their ecosystems. But the majority, we don't, there's very few leaders, by the way, they're just like, oh yeah, that's just like a fad. Like, you know, there maybe a year ago there was, or 6 months ago, you know, less, but today there's very few leaders that are saying, oh, that's a fad. But you do see a lot of leaders that are sort of anxious, to use the word you mentioned, you know, saying like, we need to do this yesterday, right? And we need to go, and making sort of hyperbolic statements about, you know, we're never going to hire anybody again if you can't perform at the level, if not better than AI. And I think that what can easily get lost in all that is answering the question, AI for what, right? So people have gotten sort of caught up in the zeitgeist of it all, but not, let's say, slowing down to speed up in order to really be thoughtful about how do we not just like introduce this everywhere so that we get surface level productivity gain, but how do we target a very specific workflow, for example, that could transform like how we do business. That's the thoughtfulness that I'm only starting to see come around. And I think that's the thoughtfulness that we're going to need, you know, to truly exercise the potential of AI. Curious, you know, Nicky, what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think, you know, I remember lecturing a few years ago before I became fully into coaching. I lectured a module on information systems. And there was a theory we used called technology diffusion, which is basically a bell curve that shows how different people take up new technology. So, you know, a typical bell curve has 2 small tails. So you have the early adopters, the people that would sleep outside the Apple store to get the latest iPhone, right? And then you get the people who would get happy with the old iPhone right at the end. And I think that's what we're seeing now as well in terms of leaders, but also in terms of organizations and industries. I'm looking at South Africa, for example. Some of the companies here, the financial services companies that are very innovative, they were some of the first to embrace AI. Some other leaders I speak to in the MBA and the Masters in Coaching class, they haven't even considered AI. I also notice across different countries, you know, I do these kind of webinars quite often If I ask people, how many of you have used ChatGPT? In the United States, everyone has done it. If I speak to people from maybe developing countries, some people have not even looked at it. So this whole notion of a digital divide, which was already there during the internet era, is something that concerns me because if we look worldwide at this, not everyone is on board, and maybe not everyone has the resources as well. And I think that could have significant implications down the line. I also think it comes down to personality type. You might be familiar with the Big Five personality type, right? The basic classic survey. People that are open and maybe extroverted, they would be open to playing with this new technology. And I think those same kind of personality types can be applied, like I said, to organizations and cultures. And unfortunately, I think because of the speed of change, this divide between those that are interested and engaging and those that are not is going to be more rapid than with other technologies.
Yeah. I want to remind everyone of Carol Dweck's growth mindset that we've talked about for a few years now. And in Microsoft, growth mindset, as opposed to fixed mindset, is kind of one of the first principles of how they run their organization. To get a little bit more granular, because I'm sure our audience is intrigued about the specific leadership skills required. You mentioned at the high level, but Jonathan, this could be an opportunity to really drill down a little bit on what you see in, as, the required portfolio of skills that we need to be developing. I'm looking at it also as an educator. Nicky, we're colleagues in that respect, to think about, we get asked this question all the time. So what are we teaching students? Are we just going to be continuing to, provide tests for a specific set of very technical skills, or is there something that is currently or might be missing from our educational system?
Yeah, happy to share the specific skills. There's 7 in particular. 2, I would say, 2 scored the highest, and in my view are like super, super important. The rest are super important. So you have resilience and curiosity, right? To me, those are like the 2 massively important skills. And Nicky, to your point on the 5-factor model, with that factor, openness to experience, curiosity, I mean, I imagine that skill is highly correlated to openness to experience. And then beyond that, you have strategic thinking, communication, problem solving, decision quality, and visioning, right? Kind of sharing, where are we actually going with this, and why are we doing this? So these are like the 7 skills that we believe leaders need. I mean, you need all 45. You need to be a great holistic leader, always. But in this age where things are changing so rapidly, these 7 are particularly important. And resilience coming in at number 1, which was actually like a bit of a surprise, right? You would think that it would be more like cognitive in nature. But in fact, the number 1 skill based on our data is resilience, or like this ability to kind of like bounce back, and to have the energy reservoir to engage. And at first it stumped me, by the way, when that came in. And in talking it through with colleagues, it makes total sense, right? If the pace of change is being compressed to now like daily updates, I get these AI newsletters daily. There's new things coming out, and not incremental, like full on new features that could like be monumental in its implications. So if all of that's happening at a more and more compressed rate, then given that we are ultimately like creatures with physical brains that don't like change, it's gonna feel adverse, right? It's gonna feel adverse. Change is pain, and there's just so much of it. So we're gonna need to be highly resilient to live in this era where change is so fluid. and really, you know, taking care of ourselves, or this thing's, we're just going to get demolished.
Yeah, yeah. Nikki, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I think I love the resilience one, Jonathan, because for me, I think for leaders, one thing I would look up to a leader for in this time is to be brave, you know, to almost go. I wrote a paper during COVID on disaster leadership. I discovered the theory disaster leadership, how to manage during a disaster. Now, fair enough, this is not a disaster, but some of the elements were quite pertinent, and one of that is to set an example, to go and say, right, this is what we're going to do, to gather information, and then to be able to change course. But the one thing a leader should not do is to sit back and panic, because the people will look up to that person. So I think leaders, in my mind, should lead by example, by using AI and talking about how they use AI. And they don't have to be experts necessarily, but I think they need to be able to talk convincingly about it, about the concepts. The one way to shoot yourself in the foot as a leader is to talk incorrectly, using wrong terminology, or talking nonsense about what this AI thing is and what it can do, because you will have someone in your company who will be into this and who will know a lot about this, and they might lose respect for you as a leader if you don't know what you're talking about. So you don't have to be an expert, and you can surround yourself by people that are experts, but at least talk sensibly and convincingly about that. And then I think also leaders should encourage experimentation in their organizations. Um, that it's so new, and I see this in my research, right? There's so many new things that come up. I can't keep ahead with doing the research. And if we're not willing to experiment and allowing people, giving them sandboxes to play in, for example. It was the same with the e-commerce era. I don't know if you remember e-commerce in the early 2000. Everyone wanted to open an e-shop, and most of them didn't work. But at least there was a chance to experiment and go and play. And I think leaders need to be brave and assign and allow some of the experimental people to go and play, while at the same time staying up to date and informed, which is a tough challenge. And that's where resilience, Jonathan, definitely comes into play.
Yeah, and I think you married so nicely resilience and curiosity, right? Because there's a different ways of responding to the challenges that are coming at us. One is protecting yourself, the other one is getting curious and doing something about it, right? But how do we build those muscles, resilience, curiosity, in the organizations that we've built here and that are in place that reward predictability over exploration? A lot of, even if you think of my favorite topic, performance reviews, you set goals in the traditional format in the beginning of the year, and you have to make sure that you meet them at the end of the year. What is not built into the system is that, to your point, the acceleration, your goals have shifted 2 weeks after you set them up. So the current systems are not allowing this level of agility, and that multiplies at all different levels of our human existence. So how do you start building those muscles in the situations that are not yet aligned with the demands of the time?
The big question. I mean, I'll just kick us off with predictability, which is an interesting word. And in speaking with CEOs that I work with and other executives, a resounding theme is my crystal ball is broken, right? For years, if not always, since like the Industrial Revolution, we've been sort of managing based on, sort of predicting, our performance based on inputs, outputs, and probabilities. And this past, I don't know, 6 months of 2025, most leaders are kind of just throwing up their arms and saying, look, we're doing our best. We've got contingency plans. We're doing all sorts of things, and things are going to net out the way they net out. It could be this way. It could be that way. And it's a really interesting picture. You listen to earnings calls today. There's like multiple scenarios that are pointed to, and rather than sort of a linear, this is what we think we're gonna achieve by the end of the quarter, by the end of the year. So I think the big question is this like a enduring trend, or is this sort of a moment in time related to tariffs and maybe like a spike in geopolitical innovation, the confluence of all these major changes, and so that's a big question mark that I have. Like, will things kind of stabilize, that we regain some predictability? I will share though, just with regard to curiosity, and really curious, Nicky, what your thoughts are on that, and also resilience. But with curiosity, I was recently with a company, and they have instituted, it's like a period of time every week just to play an experiment with AI, and they're bringing in monthly speakers to come in and speak on AI, subject matter experts, people from different AI organizations. And it's a branded campaign, like it is, and everybody participates. It reminds me of back when Google had allowed or mandated for a certain percentage of your time to be used for creativity and innovation, and that to me feels like the right move. Where you're saying, it's a different message than saying we have to use AI and we got to use it, or we're going to fall behind and be relevant. Like, that's one message that creates urgency, but also perhaps fear. And another message is like, we have this incredible opportunity in front of us. Let's be disciplined and structured in our unstructured experimentation, and really like grow this muscle of curiosity. So that I thought that was a really,
I love that.
actually like
Yeah,
a
I think
really
this is such a
incredible
good point
trend.
about how you communicate this urgency and send a message to all. If you're a leader in an organization or any team, let's play with it. Let's just not run away and think that, or you got to do it because you're going to lose your job. What a great motivator that is.
Yeah.
Short term for
And
sure.
then you wonder, why is nobody adopting AI, right?
Yeah.
We were emphatic about how important it is to use it, but our metrics were way behind. Well, duh, right?
Right.
It's a bit like, it's a bit like an expression: if you have a hammer in your hand, you look around, you walk around looking for everything. Everything looks like a nail. So I think the danger is that, and I like what you said, Jonathan, about it's curiosity and structure. They seem to be opposites, but they're actually not. They seem to be a paradox, but they work well together. So I think one must be careful to try and do AI with everything now, wherever you see it. I think it's important. I see that in coaching as well. If the use case doesn't lead itself to that specifically, then maybe it's not, AI is not maybe the way to use it there. But how do you know that? You only know that through structured experimentation. And years ago, I worked for a startup company. They were a spin out from a very large, one of the largest insurance companies in South Africa. And insurance companies are notorious for slow moving, dinosaurs, very slow processes. But they had internal incubators, intrapreneurs, they call them, not entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs. And they picked small teams of people, they gave them funding, and inside the organization, they were given free rein to experiment with different technologies. At the time, it was cell phones and mobile banking. And I think, like to your point, Jonathan, I think large organizations should do similar things, where they allow people to go and, in their work context, see how AI can be used. That means dedicating time and money and resources to it. Because if you have that breakthrough where you find that in this process or in this department we could use AI, it could save you, much more than the money that you invest initially. So it's about that bravery, curiosity, and maybe structure in how one, and looking for the right use cases. We must also, just one point, any new technology actually is dependent on the people, the processes, and then the technology. We often find that the technology in information systems is the easy part. You can have internet, you can have some cell phones, but if the processes are not adapted and if the people don't buy into it, it's not going to work. And the problem I think we have, the challenge we have with AI is the fear factor of many employees being fearful that their jobs might be taken away, for example. And this is where leadership comes in, right? A leader has to hold that space to communicate and to strategize so that people's jobs are not replaced, but that they are enhanced by AI. And that has to be thought through in the whole process. Otherwise, you're not going to have buy-in of people in large organizations to adopt and experiment with AI.
Yeah, that's very interesting. You know, in that context about curiosity, I've heard one comment around hallucinations. You know, how everyone is saying, yes, but AI hallucinates. And one of the takes that I've heard that really intrigued me was, why not approach hallucinations as just another option and curiosity? Obviously, if you're writing a legal brief or doing medical diagnosis, you don't want hallucinations. But if you think about other contexts where you are exploring options, then AI through the hallucination might suggest other avenues to pursue in your kind of search for answers. So that's really interesting. So let me ask you a very specific question. Are we in the new era of leadership Darwinism? Are we going to be, you know, survival of the most curious era where, you know, only those who are resilient, obviously the resilience stays, you know, that's kind of how we evolved as species, but the survival of most curious, can we kind of name it that way? Nikki?
I am very cautious of the hype as well that is created around anything new, right? So I always in my talks refer to Gartner's hype cycle. There's this beautiful graph that shows from innovation trigger to hype to um, uh, trough of disillusionment and then finally plateau of productivity. And if you look at the latest graphs, then generative AI, according to Gartner, is heading down into the trough of disillusionment. So we will still be disappointed about what we thought it could do. Now, this is according to Gartner. The other one thing I want to say is that in the history of AI has been around since the late 1940s, and we've had two AI winters. Again, it's a graph that shows exponential interest, and then it doesn't deliver what it should, and it drops into a trough of into a winter where it's not people aren't interested, and so on. At the moment, we're on a trajectory, so I don't predict another AI winter, or but I think we must be careful to think that AI is is going to cause a Darwinian event where things will shift so dramatically. There will be a shift, but I think companies might take a little bit longer. Maybe not all industries will be affected at the same rate. So I'm more of a cautious one when it comes to these kind of severe predictions. I think people are also very resilient, and like I explained before, the technology diffusion curve. There are the people that are happy with the old iPhone 11 that I still have, um, and so yeah, that's just my take on it. I think certain industries and sectors and certain jobs, if you're not into AI, you are in serious trouble. Others might be less affected by that. Yeah, Jonathan, I don't know what
Yeah,
your
Nikki, I
views
mean,
are.
I think this is why we get along so well, because there's like a yin yang going on here. I am a hype man, and I'm either right or I'm in the trough of disillusionment. But I do, you know, I think right now, you know, to the question, you know, can leaders survive being completely oblivious or consciously avoiding, denying AI or treating it as just this productivity thing that I don't want to have anything to do with? Can you survive right now? Yes, yes, I think you can get by with that. What that looks like 2 years from now, I would argue that your company, your organization is at serious risk if it hasn't already demised. So that sounds extreme, but I do believe we are in a Darwinian, I mean, it would be like resisting using a computer, which a lot of people did for a while, except like, 30 times worse.
I mean,
How's that for hype?
interesting, interesting. In that context, I am now trying to pick a few questions here, and there's a Calliope here in the comments says that they are currently in an organization where this displacement of jobs is taking place. And their question is, what kind of message would you suggest sharing with those individuals whose jobs are being eliminated, basically? Also, they're saying that their concern is for the society, that, and especially in this context right now, where everyone is rushing ahead. So because it might take longer to invent and come up with new jobs and retrain people and prepare for it. So how do we handle the situation right now at the point of change? We all recall Luddites and other types of movements that occurred to slow down that change, not completely, as we know from the history of Luddites. They were not really anti-machines. They just wanted to take a slower path to that next industrial revolution. So any comments, and especially like you mentioned leadership, but what will be the messages that will resonate?
Well, I agree with Nicky's point around leaders needing to be, optimistic and sharing the value proposition and opportunity with AI rather than kind of using it as a mechanism for creating urgency or as essentially like a threat. I totally agree with that ethos. And at the same time, like the reality is many jobs are going to get displaced over time through AI. And hopefully that creates opportunity for new jobs, hopefully. I mean, that's how technology, that has been the enduring trend. When automation and technology comes out, every time something big comes out in technology, people freak out and say, "Oh my God, there's not going to be jobs." And what do you know? There's like more jobs, right? That's been the enduring trend. I don't know, and I don't know if anybody can definitively answer what will be this time around, but there's no doubt that many jobs are going to be displaced at a scale that is different than any previous innovation. And I think that great leaders are respected and command influence and garner influence because their people believe in them, and their people believe in them because they trust them. And so I think it's important that leaders are optimistic and aggressive in pursuing AI, but at the same time honest about the fact that this will lead to job displacement. And I think the message for leaders is, to share with their followers and their people is, think about the things that AI can't do that you can uniquely do as a human, and make sure that you're very cognizant of those and that you're leaning into those areas, because those are likely the paths, the career paths, whether it's within the organization or outside.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's a tough one, and I understand that obviously if your job is on the line because of AI, it's a difficult one because it affects you and your family immediately. So on the one hand, I want to, from a philosophical perspective, like Jonathan said, if we zoom out and we see the bigger picture, and the predictions from is also that the economy will grow significantly because of AI. And if the economy grows, it means jobs are created elsewhere. When the automobile was created, people who were breeding horses were out of jobs, but the whole rubber tire industry was recreated. So it's difficult when you're in the beginning of that to see the bigger picture. And I know it doesn't help someone if I tell them that because they are now affected. But try and take a bigger picture perspective. From a leadership perspective, it's like in COVID. For me, is how much compassion a leader has and how it's communicated and what effort they make to try and find other jobs for these people and reskill them and give them opportunities. This for me is very interesting in terms of different companies and different cultures in companies. The United States, for example, it's a very capitalist country, right? So I'm always amazed when I speak to Jonathan and other people about how people can get hired and fired, within a matter of hours, it seems. In South Africa, for example, it takes months to get rid of someone because our laws are different. So I think different parts of the world also, and the regulations that governments will bring in will also try and buffer those kind of things. So we'll see different ways of how it affects people. But from a coaching perspective, I've coached many people in my 15 years as a coach, and when they come to me with this, I've just lost my job, or what's next in my career. Often, if they remain open-minded and and they remain open to see the possibilities. Often, on the other hand, they come out stronger and they learn and they're in a better position. So I almost want to say that never waste a crisis, which is maybe a bit too dramatic. But for the people affected, also ask yourself, how can I upskill? What can I do differently? How can this move me along and make me more resilient in the future? But we must be mindful of the emotional distress that this might cause to individuals.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you transitioned to coaching because that's exactly what we are exploring at our Coaching and Technology Summit that's coming up. And Nicky, you and Jonathan are going to be there to continue the conversation with a lot of people who are going to contribute their research, their findings, companies that are going to come and share what they're doing about this. And I think that that's the next generation of coaches who themselves are going to be enabled through technology, are going to provide that overall scaled and accessible support that often gets overlooked. How these technologies could be then deployed to support people who are being displaced. And just a little bit on the kind of that level of solution. I know, Nicky, you were doing a lot of research, and Jonathan, maybe very quickly you could share what your AI coaches are doing to support this transition with companies that you're working with.
Yeah, I mean, to me, right now, we're at a place where AI has probably 4 broad implications for coaches, ranging from like basic productivity, like I can, assuming I've done my diligence and informed consent, I can record my coaching session with my coachee responsibly, upload that transcript, and in one prompt have a coaching note, suggested resources for my coachee, and even ask the AI to provide me as coach advice on how I can up my game as a coach. So kind of like supervision. There's a whole like incredible amount of great things you can do from a diagnostic standpoint, right? Like help me understand this leader based on assessment data. And then there is like a really, and this is straight up from Nicky and his research, augmentation, right? Like if I'm working with a leader, I'm working with them usually every 2 to 3 weeks. Usually every 3 weeks is a coaching session. So what goes on in between those 3 weeks? That's a lot of time. And if there was a way to go to the gym in between those sessions to work on the goals or the skills I'm trying to acquire, how amazing would that be? And that really is the foundation of Aaron's journey. Aaron is our digital coach assistant that Nicky collaborated with us and continues to work and refine with us. And this whole notion of the more reps I have or the more exposure I have to my goals, the higher the probability for attaining those goals. That was evidenced empirically through your research, Nicky, and that's what Aaron does at its most base level. And you don't even need generative AI, by the way, for that. You can have retrieval-based AI, old school AI. For that. The generative AI is sort of, it takes it that much further. It's like, okay, now it's giving you suggestions and it's actually adapting itself to you as the coachee. But our thoughts, our position at AIIR with regard to AI is not replacement, it's augmentation. It's how do we use AI as a force multiplier and in partnership with human coaching to bring about greater outcomes.
Great. Nicky, any comments?
Yeah, so like I say, I've been building AI coaching chatbots since 2019, since before it became popular. And my focus is slightly different in my own little startup. So I have Coach Vici, which is a chatbot I've been thinking, it's at its fifth iteration now, version 5. And I'm focusing more on creating a standalone AI coaching chatbot that can serve the people who would normally not have any coaching at all. So, for Jonathan and AIIR, it's an executive coaching outfit with human coaches, very well trained, and the AI supports them. And what I do with Coach Vici is to say, well, there are millions of people out there who would never be able to see a human coach. So let's give them a taste of coaching. And I think that's the beauty just in general of AI. It's not just augmenting what humans do better, but it's actually almost like creating new niches and new services where to service people that would otherwise not have anything, any experience of that. So I think that could benefit humanity incredibly, especially in a continent like Africa, where people are poor and they don't have access to health services or goal setting or coaching. I see great potential.
Wonderful. We have a few questions still remaining, but I want to just let everyone know that a webinar is going to be available to everyone. And we can also provide, Jonathan, there's a lot of interest in the 7 skills that you talked about and maybe assessments. And Nicky, also kind of a selection of your latest research. We can definitely augment. And just finally, my question would be to return to the big picture of leadership in the age of AI. We've created a whole industry around leadership, right? That there were so many books written that, we don't want to have another publication on leadership coming out. Everyone is talking about it, multiple programs and classes, etc. So do you think that leadership in the age of AI calls for, a shift, a pivot in, vocabulary of leadership, kind of the new research that's needed, and, start the new trend in reporting on leadership and writing about it and creating new models? I think, Jonathan, you're ahead of the game here. And Nicky, you as well with the research that you're doing.
Yes, I think so. And I think it's just emerging right now. I think it's going to get much more blatantly clear when we walk into a conference room and there are several robots along with 8 other people. And that's where it's going to be like, okay, this is different, right? It's one thing to, start querying or prompting, ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini and sharing that output with your team. It's another thing when literally embodied AI is sitting around the table. And by the way, we haven't even talked about like Neuralink and different like things that are going to go into potentially our brain to enhance us in ways. So I think if we step back and look at the definition of leadership, right? At AIIR, we define leadership as actualizing a clear and compelling vision through others. So you have to have a vision. It's got to be clear and compelling. And importantly, you can't do it yourself. You got to do it through others. So historically, others has always been, humans. And I think the thing that is very abstract to like talk about and to think about is that others will soon be a combination of humans and AIs, whether that's embodied AI, or just a really sophisticated, ChatGPT version 10.0, or glasses with AI, and wearables. So I do think we're going to need to expand and build upon what we know about leadership. It's not a totally new paradigm, but it is a little bit awkward when others includes non-humans. And we
Yeah.
can figure that out.
It's a little scary sometimes, Nicky.
And I think, and this ties in nicely with my philosophy, Jonathan, that we have to do research. We have to do proper empirical research to understand, what works and what doesn't work. And I've been so surprised. I started off my AI coaching research by making the assumption that we create AI coaches that must do what a human coach does, because that's a good way to start, right? It's at least a known entity to start from. But we're already starting to see some deviations where people expect other things from an AI coach than they do from a human coach. And for example, they don't just want to have the pure non-directive, ask me questions. They at some point want to get a little bit of advice. So we're seeing that AI coaching is becoming AI coaching / mentoring, one could argue. That's the one thing that my research has shown. And another example is, for example, we had people, introverts and extroverts, we controlled for that, interact with a text-based and a voice-based chatbot. We assumed that introverts would prefer the text-based chatbot, but they preferred the voice-based chatbot. That was a surprise. So there are many of these things that we don't know about AI that we can't just assume. And by doing proper academic research, I think it can help us accelerate the path and at least avoid some pitfalls and dead ends along the way.
All right, this is a great point to end on, because again, as I mentioned, the conversation will carry on into our summit. And you will see the link to the summit here. Again, lots of requests to Nicky, could you say what your LinkedIn handle is, because people can't find you there. We want you to follow both Dr. Terblanche and Dr. Kirschner, as well as us, myself and NYU, Human Capital Management and Coaching and Technology Summit. All of those links will be delivered. But Nicky, just so that people know how to find you.
Sure, I'll post it there now. And also, there's a website called ResearchGate. So if you go to ResearchGate and you look for my name, you will find all my publications. I have more than 40 peer-reviewed journal articles. So I can find that as well quickly if there's time.
Yeah, it's a very, it's an incredible body of knowledge that Nicky has generated. And the same thing, AIIR Consulting. If you go, Jonathan, to your site, you have your 7 skills there and some of the latest white paper, right? And if you could do a quick promo.
Yes. AIIR, don't forget the second I, AIIRconsulting.com. And then if you go to the insights section, you'll see a white paper on AI and leadership, and that has the 7 skills. And I'll try to get that into the chat before the end of our webinar, which is
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. I am even more excited to continue this conversation again, because this is a work in progress, right? And Jonathan, best of luck on your keynote. Nicky, safe travels, and we'll see you in New York in about a month's time. Okay, thank you everyone for making the time.
Looking forward to that.
And we will be in touch soon. Thank you.
Thank you. So great to see everybody.
Everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.